Anonymous Podcast. My name is Seth, and you are here with myself and my lovely podcast co-host,
Phillip. Yo, what's up?
We've got a great episode for y'all this week. We're starting off with urban legends.
Whoa, spooky.
Our second topic is The Thing.
You struggled there. Yes,
yeah,
John Carpenter's The Thing for specifics, because there's a couple versions.
Yes, specifically the 1982 version.
I was going to be very upset if we started the podcast today and you're like, yeah, I watched The Thing. It was great. 2011, right?
It was really... It paid off.
Jesus.
Oh, no, actually, I watched the 1950s one, so...
That's better than 2011, at least.
And then our third topic is our mystery topic, as always, which I have definitely planned.
Do you actually have one, or are you pulling it out of your ass again this week?
I do actually have one.
Nice. See, I know what I want to do next week. We'll see if I remember it next week.
Okay, yeah.
So tune in for that.
I don't have faith in you, but you know,
I don't either.
Got to.
One Spencer, maybe Spencer does. Probably not. I used to live with him. He's like, no.
Spencer, put in the comments whether or not you believe in Philip.
I highly doubt it, but I'll be happily surprised if he does. So, should we dive right into urban legends, tall tales?
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's your favorite urban legend?
Man, so there's a fuck ton, and I'm definitely more on because there's kind of two different kinds of urban legends.
Yeah.
There's the actual kind of mythos lore kind of things, cryptids and horror things, and even creepypastas are a common thing on the internet, which in a way are their own form of urban legends.
Yeah, I would definitely say creepypastas are kind of like a modern iteration of urban legends.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have stupid shit fucking, I don't know, if you put your poodle in the microwave, you can dry it off and shit like that.
Yeah.
And they definitely won't explode.
Well, duh. That's actually been scientifically proven. I've done it. You should try it too.
Oh yeah, I do it. I put my hair in the microwave to dry my hair in the morning, so I don't have a hair dryer. So
I prefer the oven, actually.
It's true. But anyways, I'm definitely more partial to the horror ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird thing is, as I've talked about on the podcast before, horror movies and stuff don't really scare me much anymore. I'm desensitized to them. I was reading up on a bunch of horror urban legends today for the podcast, and I was genuinely unnerved. And and I don't know, it's the first time I've felt genuine discomfort from anything horror in a while, just reading fucking summaries of some of these stories. I read one today that was really fucked up. Have you heard about the one Humans Lick 2?
No.
Dude, it's fucked. So quick summary of that one.
Jeez, am I gonna be able to sleep tonight?
Probably not. The quick summary is this lady is at home or whatever. She hears there's some killer on the loose on the news. She panics. She's living by herself. Her only companion is her dog. Mm-hmm. And so she locks up the house and everything, goes to bed. In the middle of the night, she hears something in the bathroom, a dripping noise. But she's too scared to check it out. So she reaches her hand under the bed where the dog usually sleeps. And she feels her dog lick her hand. And she's comforted by oh, doggy's there. Then, in the morning, she wakes up, goes to the bathroom, brush her teeth and all that. Her dog's dead. And written in the dog's blood is this phrase that humans lick too.
Okay, well.
Yeah, that was fucked up. And it was very fucked up.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, no, it was incredibly unnerving. That was the one that really got me while I was going through these. I was like, Jesus Christ.
I do not do creepypastas at all.
I love creepypastas, man.
Oh god. I will say my preferred urban legend is definitely cryptids though. Like,
yeah, so like the horror-ish ones, but not the
yeah, well, and
like the creatures more.
Cryptids are not. Yeah, cryptids are not necessarily inherently horror. They're definitely of that same vein, and they contribute to horror. But like, it's with cryptids, it's definitely that creature horror of mostly just something that isn't human and something that's unknown to us, as opposed to like human horror or like supernatural horror.
Yeah. For sure. Like, 'cause I mean, like, Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster are technically cryptids, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, I mean, the Yeti.
Oh, I love the Yeti.
Cryptids are... I mean, they're a really interesting concept because they're just kind of going off of the idea of zoology, and a lot of interest in cryptids kind of exploded during the 1800s when people were getting really into categorizing all the species, and just sort of zoology was exploding, especially with evolution, or the evolution theory by Charles Darwin.
That new crazy thing, evolution, that just started randomly in the 1800s, you know, out of nowhere.
But like it's interesting to think, and at the time when a lot of these legends were created, we didn't know what all was out there, and so these were it was very realistic that these things could exist out in the wild, like having a giant sea monster that lives under the lake, because hey, we've never been to the bottom of the lake. I mean, think of giant squids. For centuries, giant squids were just these sea monsters that were probably just cryptids until like the last 100 years, where we actually found live specimens. We're like, oh shoot, this is a real thing.
Well, I think like no one had seen one like. I think, wasn't it like they were like like it was like really recent. It was like the 90s,
incredibly recently. I don't remember when exactly, but
because I know like I think they found like the dead body of one that proved it in like the 50s or so. But the first one they saw a live one was like either in our like while we were alive or right before we were born.
I think you're right. I think it was like right before we were alive.
Yeah, because I remember that being a big thing when I was a kid. I would when I was a kid, I really loved Animal Planet, and like they had like there were tons of specials about it because it was like still this new crazy thing of like, whoa, it's a giant squid, that's wild. We didn't even think this was real.
I am still, honestly, I still do not doubt the existence of a Yeti. I mean, like, sure, the Yeti might be made up, but like, that part of the Himalayas, they're finding new species every year. It's not entirely out of the question that some big hairy thing does roam the mountains.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that, and honestly, even the same goes for the Bigfoot. Either that creature does exist or it used to.
Yeah, Bigfoot is a little harder because it's a lot. That area of the country is a lot more accessible than the Himalayas, but you're right. I mean, that part of the country, even though it is more accessible, there's so many wide spaces. In the US, yeah, there's so many wide spaces where there isn't any civilization. I mean, there could very realistically be something there that we don't know about.
Yeah, for sure. And I was actually watching this week. I will admit, I forgot that our first topic today was urban legends. I texted Seth and I was like, hey, what's our first topic? He had forgotten what our first topic was. And then I messaged our editor, hey, Nikki, what was our first topic again? You just finished editing the podcast, right? And he was like, man, I don't remember. You should ask your co-host. And I'm like, well,
jeez.
Guess I gotta listen to that episode we're putting up tomorrow.
I could have very realistically just pulled out the audio of our last episode.
Yeah, I eventually did, but yeah, like, so unrelated, like, I ended up watching this documentary about Bigfoot and Yetis this week, completely forgetting that we were doing urban legends. I just Bigfoot and the Yeti like just fascinate me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was talking. The whole point of the documentary was how interesting it was that the tale of the Bigfoot and the tale of the Yeti are very similar.
Yeah.
On two different sides of the world.
Well, there's a couple of like big hairy bipedal apes, cryptids all around the world. Like there's one in Japan. I think there's one in South America too.
Well, and that's the thing too, is the silverback gorilla wasn't like confirmed to exist till like the early 1900s. Like
I
that
didn't
was
know
just
that it was that recent.
It was like it was like early 1900s or very very late 1800s, but that was kind of a myth in a way too at the time until it was confirmed that they were, real.
Yeah.
So like we're still finding pretty fucking large creatures that like you would think like, oh, how have we not discovered everything yet? Like, I mean, especially if something is endangered or like small populations, and if they're like evolved to avoid humans, then like it kind of makes sense that we might not be able to find them.
Well, one of my favorite animals is the okapi, which lives in the deep jungles of sub-Saharan Africa. And for the longest time, all of these Europeans that were coming in and, exploring and, causing chaos in Africa in the 1800s, they would report back all of these creatures that, were rumored to exist. And the okapi was one that for the longest time people had seen, but nobody had ever been close to, and it was thought of as a cryptid. People are like, oh, it's got the back half of a zebra and the front half of a giraffe? That's crazy, it must be made up. Until the 1900s, where they started finding a bunch. And now the okapi's like a pretty generally recognizable animal.
For sure.
I think cryptids definitely inspire this sense of, wonder about our world of there is still magic out there.
Yeah. And like there's some like, because cryptids are great because they do vary so much from like stuff like Bigfoot to like the weeping angels from Doctor Who were inspired by a type of cryptid. I forget exactly what they were called, but like stuff like that. And like there's like the children with like the black eyes. Have you heard of those?
I feel like I've heard of them, but I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, they're just creepy little kids with black eyes. Yeah. There's like the chupacabra. There's
love the chupacabra.
God, there's so many. Mothman.
Yeah.
Like there's such a wide variety. Like I know there used to be. I'm sure it still exists, but I know there was this website that was like, it was framed as this like, it was a website with it basically was just a bunch of different. It was like a Wikipedia site for cryptids, but it was like the site itself was framed around like this was the official site of this organization, like dedicated to like keeping them contained so that a lot of the more dangerous ones didn't like get out and kill everybody and stuff. And it was really fucking cool. I don't remember. I think like because they used to they labeled all the cryptids as like SR dash something, and like that was a very common thing. If you know what I'm talking about, the audience, please let me know, because I would love to find that again, because it was super interesting. Because they had all stuff from like Bigfoots to like winged angels and stuff like that, and things that would fuck your ass up.
I remember growing up, a big one that was talked about around me was the Jersey Devil, because it lived in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, in southern Jersey, and like my Boy Scout troop would go there and camp every year, and it just made for all these scary stories. The place where we would camp had all these Adirondacks, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to walk inside there at night, because maybe I'll find a Jersey Devil hanging upside down waiting for me.
Yeah. I don't think Alabama had any like specific region-based ones. Like, I think we had the occasional chupacabra tale come up because we were relatively close to like Latin America and stuff, but I don't think we had a couple ghost stories, but no like actual like cryptids or urban legends like that. Let's see.
Now, moving kind of in the same vein, but a little different. The Men in Black are an interesting one.
Yeah,
because they have this sort of supernatural air about them, but and they are talked about in the same way as cryptids are, as this urban legend. But I mean, they're also ones that could very easily exist in our world. I mean, just these uniformed but like non-identified government officials who just show up to clean up some sort of event, and they disappear into the night afterwards.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about them is they, like you said, like they are more likely to exist. But if they exist, that implies other freaky shit exists as well. Because I mean, they're usually associated with like UFOs and stuff.
Yeah.
But like there is, other stuff that like ties in that they're actually, the bouncers for like cryptids and horror things and like and aliens and like all that stuff. So like if they exist, that means they have to exist for something else,
Yeah.
So that's the interesting thing about them. And obviously there's the movies, Men in Black.
Yeah.
But very good films. Well, 1 and 3 are.
I've not seen any of the Men in Black.
Really?
Yeah.
They're 1 and 3 are really good.
Gotcha.
But yeah, and then like you have like such weird other urban legends, like alligators in the sewer, and like
that one's always been strange because, I mean, the thing itself doesn't seem all that odd. Of like, I mean, an alligator could feasibly live in a sewer, but
sure.
the legends behind it are always like a kid had a baby alligator and flushed it down the toilet one day, or just really absurd stuff. But it's almost sort of something that exists in that childlike realm in your head of like, oh, there's gators down in the sewers, as if the gators could ever come up out of the sewers or like eat you through your toilet or something.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's another thing is like snakes coming up through the plumbing. That's a popular one. I love that, like, the cool thing about Mythbusters was it took so many of these and like actually like took all these modern legends and like actually tested them, and like obviously they can't really test the more like creature based ones as much, but like they did all sorts of stuff, like if you jump in an elevator that's crashing, will it save your life, and like rocket powered cars driving into hills and shit, like wacky shit that for some reason just has permeated our public culture. But like it's like, where the fuck did that come from?
And will jumping in an elevator save your life?
I believe they busted that myth.
I'm sure they did.
Because I guess the idea was like, oh, if you're in the air when all the other stuff is crashing, like somehow you are unaffected.
You're pushing back against the velocity of the elevator and total elevator body, including you, a little bit. But you are still moving with that momentum. Even if you've pushed back and slowed down a little bit, you've not slowed down enough that you're not still going to smash into the ground.
Yeah, like you yourself, your momentum is still... Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird one. There's a lot of weird ones. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Man, there's some wacky ones, man. Like, I've been reading through a bunch of them. Do you want to... I want to play a little game, Seth.
Okay.
I'm going to say the name of a few of... These are more like horror creature-based ones a little bit, for the most part. I'm going to say the name. Tell me if you know it. If you don't know it, I want you to guess what it is.
Okay.
Let's start with... Oh, you know what Bloody Mary is.
Yes.
Everyone knows Bloody Mary, so we're just going to click that one off. which is also, that one actually freaked me out. I will never do that chant. I already said it once or twice, so I'm not gonna say it again.
Yeah.
Because technically, would a zoom call count as a reflection?
Yes, I think it does.
Because I can see myself. Oh god, I'm freaked out now. Ah!
You did this.
I'm pretty sure I only said it twice. We're good. So we're not going to talk about that one anymore. We're moving on. Mm-hmm. This one is... Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil. This one is not horror. What do you think Baby Train is?
Baby Train? Don't know.
Okay. Guess what you think it is. Just guess what it could be.
You said
it's not horror.
It's not horror. Okay, good, because that name kind of...
Yeah. It's just like kind of it's a more common, like, regular urban-y legend kind of thing.
That a bunch of babies got really smart and decided they were gonna conduct a train, so they snuck onto the Amtrak platform one day and just, started it up, and they've been chugging around as the baby train team ever since.
Isn't that the plot to Baby Geniuses?
I don't know. Maybe.
I hope not. That'd probably be a better plot than Baby Geniuses. No. So Baby Train is literally all it is this just idea in this like small little town that there's a train that went through it, and it went through the town every night at 5 a.m. and it would wake everybody up, and they could just never get them to change the train schedule. So they were asleep. They were woken up. They couldn't go back to sleep, so they just fucked, and there was a baby boom, and they called it the Baby Train.
Huh. That's interesting.
So
right.
The next one that I want you to guess, Seth. Do you know about Bunny Man?
No.
So, Bunny Man.
Oh
yeah,
well,
you're right. I forgot my own game.
Okay. Woman had sex with a bunny and then had a bunny child, and the bunny child was like locked up in the basement for years until somebody went down there and it's like,
wow, you watched that holidays anthology horror film too? No. Bunny Man is actually based off of like something that like, yeah, I mean, these are all based off, for the most part, like things that people like saw and stuff, but this is like actual police reports of like this couple was in their car like chilling by this bridge called the Bunny Man Bridge, and this guy comes up with an axe wearing like a bunny hood saying, "This is private property. Yikes. Get away," and starts attacking their car with the axe, and they like freak out and leave. And apparently this happened multiple times to multiple different people. Just this dude wearing a fucking bunny hood going around telling people to get away from his bridge with an axe. So this is just like strange. A real regular dude.
I believe that's real too. It's probably just some dude who like lived, like maybe a homeless guy
just
who
happened to have a bunny hood and an axe. Apparently now, apparently no like actual reported stuff has happened in a while, but like now people are like, oh, Bunny Man's ghost is haunting the place, which like, sure, but like that's cool that like that was an actual like thing that people went to the police for. So that's a fun little one. Do you know? Oh, there's this one's not a horror one. Lighthouse and Naval Vessel Urban Legend.
I feel like there's got to be a couple of those.
What do you think it is?
Maybe just another story of like a dude who killed his wife with an axe.
No, this one isn't horror. This one is.
Oh, okay. The lighthouse disappeared.
So this one's actually a lot more tame. This one's literally just the story of like a naval like craft of some sort radioing this other vessel that he saw the light from, and they're like, "Hey, you gotta change course, man. Like, I'm on a mission. I can't change course. You gotta change your course." And the other light is like, "No, like, we can't. You have to change your course." And the captain is just super adamant, like, "I will not change the course of my ship." And then the other one's like, "Well, we're a lighthouse, bud. We can't move." And that's the whole story.
Yeah.
It's just...
Oh, yes, I have read that before. That was like a viral, like.
Yeah,
Facebook
it's one of those like it's one of those like modern Aesop fables that are now just memes that people post of like 50-year-old people in Facebook posts of like, don't be stubborn. Usually posted by very stubborn people, but that's just a fun little one. Let's see. What is this one? I already told the left hand one. Killer in the back seat.
Yeah, I've heard of that one before. The woman who like people were telling her to pull over on the road. It's because there was somebody with a knife in the back seat.
The specific one I read today that I really liked was like, it was this one specific driver, like kept like flashing their lights at her and like ramming into her car at a certain point, and she thought this dude was just harassing her, and so she drives super quick to get away from this car that like he's just crazy, and she gets home and gets killed by the killer in the back seat because the other driver was trying to warn her about it.
Oh. I don't think I've ever heard a version where like she actually.
Yeah, I think there's a few where she actually gets killed. There's a couple where she just goes to the police station.
I mean,
we swim in different storytelling lakes.
Perhaps, yes. I tend to stay away from those.
You like your happy
kind
endings.
of stories.
I like some murder
like
and
ending.
some dead dogs. Humans can lick too. That one actually genuinely disturbed me.
Anyway, this was a fun guessing game.
I threw in Baby Train and Lighthouse versus Navy Vessel.
Baby Train was a lot more tame than I was expecting.
Yeah, but I did first, because I was looking through this list of different urban legends, and I saw Baby Train. I was like, oh god, this is going to be like a train haunted by dead babies or something. And it's like, no, it's just people fucked each other because they didn't have anything else to do at 5 a.m. because they were already awake. It's like, all right.
Now, I feel like we can't talk about urban legends without talking about the little green men or like the gray aliens, because that is a very purveyant one. That is so widespread in our culture, and I mean they appear in so many movies, but it's weird because I mean hypothetically it could have happened. Little gray aliens crash landed in Roswell and got taken to Area 51, but Area 51 in and of itself 100%. Is a urban legend. But I mean like it's those are the ones that are like that. I mean, hypothetically could be true, but are just like so outrageous that they probably aren't.
They might be.
But they might be.
Maybe we only think it's outrageous because the Men in Black, came to all the people who had the evidence and said, no, you don't do that. That's a no.
Yeah. I mean, I would 100% believe that the government has already been in contact with aliens.
I think we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast before. I'm not necessarily one that thinks aliens have, like, been here. Like, I think aliens exist because there's no fucking way the universe is as big as it is, and they don't. That's just arrogant to think we're the only sentient life. I don't know if I vibe with, like, crop circles or by the alien ships and, like, I got abducted and probed and then they put me back conveniently in my little place, and it's like, I don't know about all that, but, like, I'm not necessarily fully saying it's not true either.
What? You don't like a good anal probe every once in a while?
Butt stuff, Seth. You know this. It's not my kink. Hashtag not my kink.
It's true.
It's true. Seth knows. He knows. He knows my kinks.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway.
Urban legends.
But yeah, I don't think the government is hiding anything like that. But like, if we found out that happened, like, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the military just declassified video of UFOs last year.
Well, I almost think that, like, if they declassify those, like, there's nothing else really to hide then.
Yeah.
In that specific vein, because, like, I mean, maybe they thought there was, but, like, I feel like if there was, like, legit super crazy stuff with that, they would still be hiding that. But I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm not an alien, or am I? This podcast is all my elaborate ruse to, entwine myself with culture.
Philip is not
I am wonderfully cultured. Thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah, I also find you gotta kind of think of like what came up with the creation of those stories too. I mean, I don't know exactly when the Roswell aliens first started being talked about, but I'm sure. I mean, the Roswell aliens are so entwined with this idea of government corruption that was so persistent in the 1960s and 70s with the Vietnam War and Watergate and so on and so forth. And, I mean, both those stories are plausible because of all the corruption that went on, that such an environment would cause the U.S. government's interaction with aliens to be of that sort of vein. But also, that corruption is also probably the reason why we have those stories. People just distrust the government so much, they're like, this important thing would happen, and they wouldn't even tell us.
I mean, there was an entire radio show called Coast to Coast AM, I think it was, that played like at 3 a.m. in the morning. And I think was that Art Bell who did that? Was that his thing? He was a very whoever it was a very famous broadcaster, and I think it was Art Bell who hosted that show, which was all about these supernatural, like, it was like a conspiracy theory show, but it focused on like the supernatural aliens and the paranormal. And like, it was very interesting because like he very much believed a lot of this stuff, but like there would be people that would come on with these just absolute nutcase stories, and he'd be like, I don't know about that one, bud. I believe a lot of things, but I don't know about that one. And, like, he like had some cynicism to it. He just didn't just believe every single thing. Like, he actually tried to like find evidence and stuff for these things. It was actually a really good show.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like 8 when I listened to it years ago, but like I really enjoyed it. Like that's one of the things that really sparked my interest in like the paranormal. Technically, War of the Worlds, the radio broadcast. Would that be one?
I was just thinking about that. That would be, I mean, that is one that very clearly was not real. That was a story that was constructed. And I mean, even the stories of how people reacted that night is an urban legend. But that is very, I mean, that's a very interesting concept that, somebody did a radio broadcast pretending that the Earth was being invaded by aliens, and people believed it.
And supposedly, like, they were very much overblown, like that. Like, now the urban legend is like people are out in the streets panicking, running for cover. It's like that didn't happen, but like I know I heard some anecdotal stories of like, you know, my mom saying like, because I guess it would have been either her mom or her grandmom was like, she was there for it, and like she was freaked out for a minute. Like, she like called her friend and be like, is this real? And then like they quickly found out it wasn't, but like there was genuine doubt for a minute of like, this isn't real, right? Ha, right?
Well, it was right in the middle of the Red Scare, and right in the middle of when both the U.S. and the USSR were getting really into space stuff. So it's not like it was something that would have been completely just out of the blue for that time period. People were predisposed to being like, oh shit, something's gone wrong.
I mean, that's fair. Like, I can't even really fault him for it.
Yeah. I mean, I do not like... I can't say that I would have listened to that broadcast and
at
wouldn't
the time,
have
if you
believed it.
know the reference for something like that, like, yeah, like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
very, especially because it was framed as a news bulletin. That was the framing device. It was a very effective tool, and that story and the stories about people's reaction to that story is something that fascinates me greatly. Man, there's so many. Like, we could honestly, this is a topic I definitely think we could revisit later down the line, because there's so many urban legends, and they're just fascinating to me. From like I like the horror creature ones, but even like the more tame ones are like just fun little misconceptions people have, and like don't eat watermelon seeds or you'll have a watermelon in your stomach. Like, where the fuck did that come from?
That's not real? Why did I stop eating watermelon seeds?
It's because you were a nerd.
Why am I getting so fat, Philip?
Because you're big boned. You're big boned, Seth. You're still beautiful, though. Wow, well, narcissism is not a nice trait, Seth. I say as the self-proclaimed narcissist.
Hey, just so you know, listeners, I'm anti-Philip.
Whoa, that's another double anti. We should probably go ahead and wrap it up. Like I said, there's a billion that I'm sure we didn't cover.
Yeah.
I'm 100% down. Also, this is episode 20, by the way. So, woo!
Happy episode 20.
We're old enough to vote in today's election that we're recording, but this will be very dated by the time this episode comes out.
Yeah, everybody is listening in a future that could be an
more
entirely different world.
What if the aliens have invaded? Good luck.
Good luck. Good luck.
I'm gonna go hang out with Bunny
everybody.
Man. He'll keep me safe in his Bunny Man bridge.
Bunny Man 2020. If you haven't voted,
a week after elections when this episode is gonna come out.
When you voted, literally like a week ago.
Make sure retroactively go back in time and vote for Bunny Man. He knows what needs to happen. Bunny Man 2020.
Bunny Man 2020.
I could definitely, maybe episode 40 we'll revisit urban legends or something, because
yeah, and I mean we could probably do episodes on individual
for sure, especially ones
legends.
like based on films or books and stuff, like 100%. But yeah, I'm very pro urban legends. Obviously there's some wacky ones. But like just in general, like from creepypastas to cryptids to horror stories you tell around the campfires, those are just a fascinating thing to me, and I think they're really, really cool. And yeah, there's shitty weird ones, but there's shitty weird everything, So like, I'm 100% pro urban legends, and I'd love to revisit more of these in the future.
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm pro urban legends. I definitely don't vibe as much with the horror ones, but
Seth, humans can lick too.
This is just the modern successor to folk stories that have persisted throughout human civilization. I mean, this urban legends have been around as long as humans have. And I think there's something really neat about that in this age where it seems like we are governed by facts and it feels like we know everything, just still having those things out there of that instill this sense of wonder about the world we think we know is really remarkable. Pro urban legends.
And just the story fun ones, not the like misleading people about actual shit, like, because that's another kind of association with urban legends that can sometimes be problematic. Not those. We're talking about the fun story ones, like the folklore-esque ones, not the show and show said and like no that's.
Did you know that if you just think really hard about voting,
that's how it works, right? Go vote, as we say a week later.
Yeah. You don't have to actually put a ballot in.
The mail-in system is fake. You can't do it, and it doesn't work.
Speaking of urban legends.
Oh god, this is so dated now. This is a week after Seth.
All right, now
it's relevant to us today in the moment.
Yeah.
No one's gonna give a shit in a week. Hopefully things are good in a week.
No, people are. I feel like people are still gonna know in a week. Are still gonna be
100%.
freaked out in a week. But anyway, so let's move on to our sort of urban legend-esque form of media. Okay, Philip, let's talk about your thing.
Oh, I'll tell you about my thing, Seth. I really need to see a doctor.
Tell me all about it.
It's, it can change into different forms, and
it's got a bunch of little tendrils coming off of it.
Can bites people's arms off. It's wacky, man.
Yeah.
Are we talking about my penis or John Carpenter's film, The Thing?
Ooh.
What a segue. Jesus Christ. The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, spoilers for that. It's one of my favorite movies. I love it. I'm big into sci-fi, I'm big into horror. Sci-fi horror is a genre that does not have nearly enough good movies, and The Thing is one of those few very good movies in that genre, in my opinion. Seth, you just watched it for the first time ever.
I did. Yeah.
You are a sci-fi guy, but you're not a horror guy.
Correct. I'm not a horror guy. I actually don't think I've ever seen a John Carpenter film before.
Oh, wow.
The Thing.
This is your first one? This is your John Carpenter cherry?
Yeah, this was an interesting experience. I really enjoyed it. I appreciated the fact that, like, it definitely did play more as a thriller than a horror.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely more along the lines of Alien, and there weren't even any jump scares, really. I think I can only remember there being one jump scare, and I don't even remember what it was. I just remember jumping.
The one I would say is probably the biggest jump scare is probably when the guy's stomach caves in.
And
like while he's doing the defib and he eats his arms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably. I was definitely, like, terrified that he was gonna, like, leave the dogs, and when he came back, the dogs were all gonna be, like, eaten. And I was really terrified for that, but it ended up that, like, we actually saw the transformation on screen, which created a much different experience going into the more supernatural portion of the movie than I was expecting. But I think it was a very neat way to do it, because it's unsettling, but in a completely different way.
Yeah. Because, like, I mean, that's the thing.
There's not as much of the suspense factor as much as just, like, okay, what the hell is this?
Yeah. And, like, I think that, honestly, it's interesting, because a general rule of horror is that you don't see the monster until the end.
Yeah.
But in a way, The Thing kind of subverts that, where you see the monster, or at least some form of it, pretty early, and then you don't see it again for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not until the very end where you see the actual monster again.
Well,
But, like, you already know what it looks like, and then it becomes hidden. So you have, like, the fear of it being hidden is more because you've already seen it. Like, you already know it's fucking freaky, and now it's just a human? The fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and, I mean, it kind of, instead of it being, like, which you would expect from this kind of a monster, this kind of a movie, like, it being something in the dark that's gonna get you at any turn. It's very much something that, like, it's not even though, like, the very nature of the monster is to hide, it's not hiding, it's coming at you, and it's still scary as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really interesting way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, for me, I love monster horror, and I also love, suspense thrillers kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a perfect blend of, like, you get, especially because it's all practical effects. for the monster, which I love.
I thought that I really appreciated that.
And like there are a couple of things that like look a little goofy now, 30, 40 years later, but
Sure.
like the little spider head walking around out of the lab, like when the guy's head pops off and it's like little spider
that
legs.
was.
It's a little goofy, but
it still held up, even though it was pretty goofy. It's
Well,
kind of like Jaws. Like I'm like, oh, I could tell this is made in the '80s, but like I can see how it was effective.
well, I think it also works like specifically for the spider head thing, is because even I forget who it was who said it, but like one of them literally looks down and is like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me," and it sees it. So like they honestly kind of even call out that it's kind of goofy. It's just that like they're just fucking done with it. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, that was another scene where it completely subverted my expectations with how long they were focusing on the head, just kind of like sneaking away. I was like, oh god, it's gonna go somewhere else in the ship, it's gonna hide, it's gonna become something else. And they catch it as soon as it starts crawling away, like, oh no.
It's like, you fuck this. See, I love that because the threat is never really the actual monster. It's the fact that any of them could be the monster. It's not like, and I think that's where the subversion really comes in.
I agree. I didn't even think about that, because since they do put the monster front and center, that makes it so that the like running from the monster is not necessarily the tension, because the tension comes from, okay, but the monster like could be any of us too.
Oh yeah, because like that's the thing. Like sure, like oh, big scary monster, it's scary, but like they know it can be defeated. They know they can kill it.
Yeah.
But the fact that this scary, freaky thing can just be one of your friends that you've been with, it locked away with for months, like it's one of your buddies, one of your coworkers, and you have no fucking idea. I mean, I mentioned this to you after you watched it. Like, I mean, Among Us is the game. Like,
oh yeah. Well, and I mean, watching it, you can see just how influential it has been on pop culture. Among Us is. I mean, if you were going to make multiplayer game from the thing, that's exactly how you would adapt it.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, just right off the bat, the one episode of Rick and Morty, one of the most famous episodes, where there's all those monsters that disguise themselves as wacky things, they're almost identical to the things in the thing.
Yeah. It's a... Because, like, I feel like there definitely have been other movies and books and etc. of, person is not who they say they are, or, like, you don't know who the monster is. Like, it could be one... Like, but, like, I think the thing is not only probably the best executed of those, but it's also just... It's so ingrained in our pop culture now, which is fascinating because I don't know if you know this, but when it came out, it was panned by critics and audiences.
Really?
Like, they were like, this is trash, this is garbage, this is a terrible movie. They laughed at the practical effects, they just didn't... They were expecting a... Well, because this was after Halloween. I think people were expecting another slasher film.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's very much not. As we've already said, it's very much a subversion of a lot of horror tropes and how horror movies are done. And so yeah, when it came out, it bombed. It didn't make a lot of money in theaters. It just didn't do well. But since then, like, I think the sci-fi crowd has kind of come in and be like, oh, hold up, this is actually really fucking good. And then like it's kind of spread out amongst our pop culture of just being like, yeah, no, this is one of the best sci-fi horror films. Like, I would say the only other sci-fi horror movie I would say is even potentially better is Alien. Mm-hmm. Even then, I think I prefer The Thing more personally.
I think I probably prefer The Thing, too. I was also thinking their everything I kept thinking about while watching this was this one group of episodes from Doctor Who from the 70s, which is a very similar or a very similar premise. A bunch of scientists find these alien seed pods in the Antarctic, and then the seed pods become monsters that start chasing people around and just like threatening to take over the entire world. And I'm like, there's no way the two of these were independent from each other, but Doctor Who set of episodes came out at least 10 years before The Thing. And I mean, it's because The Thing, which has since had a prequel / reboot in 2011, was based off of another movie.
Hold up, Seth, I can't hear you. You cut out.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. It's based off of another movie from the 50s, which in turn was based off of a short story from the 30s. And I read the synopsis of the short story from the 30s, and I was blown away at just like how similar the two were, how faithful it seemed to be from that, like, from something that far back to a movie adaptation in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, it's because like again, like it's not necessarily a original concept, because again, like there are so many things of like, you know, I mean, obviously it was a remake, it was a reboot, like, so it wasn't an original thing necessarily, but like it is such a fascinating concept. Like that's one of the things that really gets me the most in horror, is the suspense of like the distrust and like thinking everyone else is the monster and like who is really trustworthy and who isn't. Like that adds such a level to suspense, and I think it's done the best in this version of The Thing, and I think it's definitely the acting in this movie is phenomenal. Like they got an amazing cast. Like first off, Kurt Russell.
This is probably my favorite thing I have ever seen Kurt Russell in.
Well, he's only in The Thing, so he's only in one The Thing.
Well, because I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I'm struggling to remember any Kurt Russell movies that I either enjoyed or didn't think were just meh.
See, I love Kurt Russell, but I would agree, because like I've seen him in a fair bit. Like I mean, Hateful Eight, he was really good in that.
Yes. Okay. I really
he was the best part of Hateful Eight for me. He was in, I know you haven't seen this, but Bone Tomahawk he was pretty good in. Big Trouble in Little China, which
again that was a meh for me.
Yeah, the racism makes it a little rough to rewatch.
The racism is very troubling.
But I haven't actually seen these, but I know like Escape from New York and Escape from LA.
I've seen Escape from New York. It was a meh for me.
But like I think I've at least kind of enjoyed every Kurt Russell movie I've seen.
Well, I always think Kurt Russell is good, even if sometimes his performance comes off a little cheesy. Like even his cheesy performances I find enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, I think he can, because even in The Thing, like he was dangerously close to coming cheesy. Like even like the intro to his character, he's playing chess and he's just like he dumps his drink into the computer. It's like, fuck you, you cheating bitch, or whatever. It's like that's pretty over the top, but it also fits the character.
Yeah. I think it's interesting the way this movie like subverts your idea of story structure too. Because I mean the plot lays itself out pretty straightforwardly, but the two things that really stick out and are very strange for this movie are the very beginning and the very end. Because the very beginning starts off in media res. You are seeing the end of what seems to be like the events of this movie must have happened beforehand at the old base, but we're just seeing the aftermath of that. We're seeing just these two guys coming in on a helicopter shooting at a dog. And I mean, anybody who has any idea of what the film's about is like, okay, so the dog is the monster. Like, as soon as you're watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really... That kind of adds to part of the unsettlingness, is, like, you can tell something's wrong with the... Well, you can tell something's wrong with the dog from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just coming up to camp, and they're letting it lick their faces and hang out around them. And so, I mean, that really just starts off the tension right off the gate, right out of the gate.
Because, like, I do like, it takes a minute before anything remotely horror-y to actually happen. Like, the dog is just in the base while we're meeting all the characters. Like, the monster's already in the base while we're getting to know our protagonists. And that's pretty interesting. It's like if Jaws was already in the fucking swimming pool. Like, it's just such a, like, it's a strange... Like, the monster's already there. Like, he's already infiltrated at that point. And I think that makes it even more, like, while you're learning about all these characters and their relationships with one another, so is the Thing. Like, the Thing is meeting these characters at the same time the audience is. And I think that's interesting in its own right.
That made me wonder while I was watching it, too, how much cognizance, or, like, what's the level of sentience of the Thing? Is it just sort of... I mean, it had to have been either an intelligent life form to be piloting the ship, or at least it had to have been with an intelligent life form. But during the movie, I mean, other than it really acts like an animal. Even when it's impersonating a human, like, you can see it acting just purely instinctively. And so is, like, is it an animal? Is it something of similar intelligence to us? Is it something of so much greater intelligence to us and we can't even perceive it because it's so different and so inaccessible?
Well, see, I think it has to have some degree of sentience for two reasons. We see that when the Thing was Blair locked up in the Thing, or in the shed, he makes that spaceship. So clearly he has the at least mental capability to, try to make a spaceship. And
but then it also, but at the same time, when you see Blair earlier and he's begging to come back into the base, like, you can already tell that he's been taken over, because his appeals are no longer the appeals of a madman. They are the appeals of, like, I'm all better now. Let me back in. Let me back in now.
See, honestly, I didn't even necessarily think about it like that. I kind of assumed he was still just crazy at that point. But, like, I can see that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's definitely an interesting point. But, like, I mean, the thing is, like, the Thing perfectly... Like, I think the Thing did a really good job of impersonating, like, the people that had taken over. Like...
Well, and I think that's also another testament to the movie, is the fact that it keeps it ambiguous just how much the creature knows, just how much the creature is capable of. I mean, we don't even know that it's able to build a spaceship until the very end. Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be something of an equivalent intelligence to us, but it's just so foreign of a being to us that it acts in ways that are beyond comprehension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely... Yeah, it's just... It's crazy, too, because, like, I know you were saying, like, oh, like, Blair was obviously the, taken over, and it's like, it's hard for me to even say one way or the other, because, like, the movie is so adamant about playing with your expectations on who is and isn't. Like, the fact that I forget his name, but the guy who looked over the dogs, like, they were sure the entire movie that he was taken over, and he wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, I thought for sure he was.
Dude, I've seen this movie 5 times, and like when I was rewatching it, I genuinely couldn't remember if he was or not. Like, they were so adamant about, hey, keep an eye out for him. He's got to be the thing. And the thing is, like, I would have to keep track of who was who at which point in time. But it's possible the Thing was trying to rat out that guy, and like literally maybe didn't take him over to get suspicion away from itself.
To make him see, to make people focus on being paranoid of him
instead of who he was actually impersonating.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like maybe because like he obviously it would have made sense for. I think it's another testament to the Thing being sentient, because if it was just an animal, like, just blindly taking things over, he absolutely would have taken over the dog caretaker, because he was constantly alone with the dog caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he wasn't, I think, is a sign that, yes, he is strategic and planning and plotting how to best take over this colony.
Well, and you know what I thought was a peculiar bit in the movie was when they're suspicious of Kurt Russell's character.
McCready, yeah.
Yeah, and he first Knowles, right, comes in from the cold, is like, I found his jacket. He must be the Thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then McCready comes in with dynamite and just is acting so intensely and so bombastically. I kept on going back and forth, being like, okay, I think Knowles is the Thing, or even though I knew McCready couldn't be the Thing because he was the protagonist, and it was early on in the movie, I was like, I actually think it might be McCready because he's just acting so weird.
Yeah.
But neither of them ended up being the Thing, and that is probably the key point where you really have no idea what's going on. And
I think that's part of what makes this movie so clever, is the fact that there are obvious outs and obvious horror things, like, oh yeah, like, here, he obviously should be the killer, but the fact that it always keeps you on your toes, like, it's very intelligent and strategic on who is actually the Thing at which time, and it doesn't go for these easy outs. Although you say that that like around that scene, one of my favorite moments is when I think it's right after they talk to Blair or something, and Mac looks to what was his name? What did you say his name was?
Knowles?
Knowles, yeah. Like, he looks at Knowles and he's like, hey, we should go check out my cabin real quick. And Knowles is like, why? And he's like, oh, because, I turned the light off in my cabin yesterday. and we just, the camera pans over and the lights are on. Like,
that's an awesome
I love
scene.
that moment. Like, it's
both
funny
great.
And creepy at the same time.
Yeah.
And the fact he's so nonchalant about it, he's just like, I turned my light off yesterday and I haven't been back up there.
There's got to be a thing up there. Let's just check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, it's such, God, I love this movie. What are your thoughts and interpretations of the ending?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the ending is another thing, another part where it really sort of plays around with expectations of plot structure, because, I mean, it isn't your kind of satisfying resolution. It's very much like that old-timey horror movie trope of the end? ?
Yeah.
And I mean, I will admit it was a bit underwhelming.
Really?
But also, while it was underwhelming, I wouldn't necessarily say that I was disappointed with it, because you still get, it still evokes a very effective response out of you by leaving it up in the air of, like, did we actually kill the Thing? We don't know. Could one of us be the Thing? I don't know. We're just gonna sit around and freeze to death, too. It felt a lot like the end of Hateful Eight too, because you were like, there is a resolution that is coming of like everyone who started off in this movie is going to be dead either by the end or soon after, and it's just coming. It's inevitable.
See,
and I think that was very effective, very powerful.
Yeah. See, I love this. It's one of my favorite film endings because, but like I think we've talked about it on the podcast before. I love like a sense of ambiguity to my film endings, and I love that there are like at least 3 different interpretations of that ending of like what the end situation is, because basically there is either A, somehow they did kill it, and they're both not the thing, but they're still going to die, freeze to death anyway. But at least they saved humanity.
Yeah.
The other one is, and this is probably the most common interpretation, is that Keith David's character Childs was the thing. But then there's my personal favorite theory, which I think is what I think the ending is. I fully think that MacReady was the thing at the end. And I think what really sealed the deal, because I already thought that, and then I rewatched it this past time. And way early on, it's when MacReady is talking to, I forget his name, but the other nerdy doctor that wasn't Blair or the guy who got his arms eaten. Like the kind of younger doctor. He made a point to say, hey, MacReady, we should all prepare our own meals and not eat after each other and eat out of cans and stuff like that. And it's a very interesting line to have in the movie if it isn't important. Yeah. And the very last scene, MacReady hands Childs a bottle of wine. And Childs drinks. And the closing shot is MacReady smiling.
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely... that is significant at the end where they're sharing the drink, because it kind of goes along with that feeling of inevitability of, like, if one of them is the thing, now they're both going to be the thing. And just sort of however this is going to go, we're gonna go out together.
Yeah.
And you know what I was just thinking about? Did Kurt Russell ever have his blood tested?
He did.
And everyone else did?
But I believe he was the one who tested himself.
Gotcha.
So, like, there is a chance, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was the long play for the alien. Maybe he was already infected. I don't think he got infected till the very end, but it's possible he was infected sooner.
I thought it was very interesting how... and something I really appreciated was that the rules for the alien stayed consistent throughout that scene of, like, the alien's blood was always going to react that way. Because I'm so used to movies with that sort of creature being, like, after it happens once, they can adapt so they don't give themselves a tell in the future, which... I mean, obviously, a creature could hypothetically do that, but it's always felt like a cop-out to me.
Well, I think it fits... I think the fact that the rules do stay consistent kind of fits with the fact that, like, from the very... Like, our introduction to MacReady's character is him playing chess, and, like, this is a giant chess game, essentially.
Yeah. It's
a strategy mostly against MacReady versus the Thing, and then... If my theory is right that he was the Thing by the end, then I mean MacReady lost the chess game.
My sort of feeling at the end, and I mean it really could be anything, and I mean I think the intention of the ending was that it could be anything, that it is ambiguous. But I ended the movie with the feeling of neither of them were probably the Thing, but that didn't mean that the Thing wasn't hanging out there, still in the waste, even though, like, nobody ever saw Knowles before they blew up Blair. He could have gotten Knowles before everything happened like that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But I see. I was also really surprised by the ending because I felt pretty confident from the beginning that it was going to end in sort of a cyclical fashion, that it was going to end with them almost defeating the Thing, but the Thing making it like I was totally expecting a helicopter or a rescue team to land at the end and just like a lone dog to get on the copter to be the only thing to be found. That's how I was expecting it to end, and sort of just a mirroring of the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't happen.
I think because like honestly, I can definitely see that. I think the beauty of it though is that, like, with how this ending was, that could still happen in the beginning of, if there was to be a sequel. Like, they could, like...
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I mean, I haven't seen The Thing 2011. I don't really want to. But, like, I'm assuming it probably does end kind of in that fashion if you've seen the dog run off.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a prequel. It's about
it's a prequel.
base.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure you see the dog run off at the end of that movie to the American base. But, like, I think... I don't think that's necessarily a bad ending. I just think like it does feel a little more an ending that served you a little more on a plate.
Yeah, I agree.
The fact that like there's at least 3 different interpretations that just we came up with about this ending. Let alone, I'm sure other people have come up with other theories and.
Certainly, and I'm sure people who have watched this movie like 100 times and have done critical analyses of every single detail have probably found important plot details and pretty legitimate plot details that we haven't even perceived. Yeah,
because that's the thing. There's so many little details in this movie that really can add on to like kind of the almost mythos and like the strategy of like who is doing what right now. Is MacReady making a move against the Thing? Is the Thing making a move against MacReady? Is MacReady already the Thing? Like, and is MacReady the Thing's queen? Like in chess?
Yeah.
Like, we don't know, and I think that's what makes it. And like you said, I'm sure someone has laid out point for point like a layout of who's infected at which time, and like has a fucking spreadsheet on it. Like I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're that person, please send it to us because I'm fucking interested. But I think that's what makes this movie so good. Is it's just so. It's a game of sci-fi horror chess, and that's what it's laid out as, and it's done spectacularly well, and it has horror elements. It has mostly thriller suspense, and then. Like, there's even some comedy, though. There's, like, some goofy moments here and there. Most of it's kind of deadpan, like the moment where, like, I turned my light off. Like, that's kind of a funny moment while still adding to the suspense. And I think that movie does a great job of finding that balance of having some levity while not diminishing from the threat.
Yeah.
And...
Now... Sorry.
No, you're good.
Now, also... pretty significant is the setting of Antarctica, because it serves a number of different purposes. I mean, first, aesthetically speaking, I mean it's a barren wasteland where nobody else is around. It creates this. I mean, it creates a feeling of isolation. It creates a feeling of
because it's in Antarctica.
But nobody else is coming to rescue them. But it serves a very... It serves, like, a thematic one, too, of... I mean, it is as close to an alien world as you're going to get on Earth. I mean, these people are in an ecosystem that is so foreign to them that anything could happen. Like, say you find a buried alien spaceship in the ice.
As one does.
It. I mean, you see Antarctica in a number of things like that because it is so easy to serve that purpose as a setting, but you also don't see a lot of things set in Antarctica. It is still sort of this final frontier mystery place in our imaginations.
Yeah. Like, I can't think of any other movies that aren't, like, March of the Penguins that are set in Antarctica. Like, I mean...
I'm sure there's probably, like, one or two that I'm not thinking of. But, yeah, like, I can't think of anything... other than 8 Below.
Yeah, I haven't seen
off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's just... It seems... Because it's such a... It's a great setting. And, like...
Yeah.
And, like, I can see why... It's not used more because, like, I think it does probably work best in, like, a horror setting, and I think any horror film that did decide to set themselves in Antarctica would just be accused of ripping off The Thing.
Yeah.
But like, it's such a perfect backdrop for this story of isolation and uncertainty, and you're right, like, it's the perfect setting. Like, and also it's just fucking beautiful. Like, I know they didn't film on set. I don't think they filmed on location in Antarctica. But even still, like, it's just the snowy look and God, it's just it's a beautiful movie, and, like, I love the practical effects are so good. Like, it's just I hate that we don't see as many practical effects anymore. And, like, sure, some of them maybe look a little goofy here and there, but, like, there's still some genuine, like, horror, and, like, with, like, the dog scene when it's transforming and shit is fucking horrific, dude.
Oh yeah. And I am not a big body horror person at all, and that was something I found, like, that I didn't really like watching this movie, but I was able to, like, the body horror never felt like wasted. It always felt like it had a purpose.
Yeah. For sure. And like, and it's just, it was executed so well, and, like, that's the thing too, is, like, it didn't. Yeah, like you said, it never overused the body horror. Like, there's only 2 or 3 times that they really go all out with it. Like, the dog scene, the stomach cave-in scene.
And is that the same scene as the head spider scene?
Yeah, it's the same. That's the head spider scene, too. Yeah.
And then, obviously, the ending.
Yeah. But, like, other than that, it's pretty limited. Like, you see a couple of, like, starting transformations, but that's usually pretty quick and very effective. You know who I think the character I felt the most sorry for in this movie, I felt bad for Windows. The communications guy.
I don't even remember Windows. I'm gonna be honest, I like could not retain who half of these people were before they died.
He was the communications guy with the fluffy hair.
Random white guys who all died.
Hey, there were 2 black guys. That's progressive for an 80s movie.
And they both had personalities, and I remembered them.
And they both made it mostly to the end.
Yeah.
They were in the final 5. That's impressive. For an 80s horror movie, that's impressive. No women, but, you know, it's the 80s. But yeah, God, I love this movie so much. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's... Like, honestly, it's almost definitely my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Like, almost certainly. It's just... And it does hit a lot of boxes for me because I am such a big sci-fi and horror guy, and it is so hard to find really good sci-fi horror films. But, like, even just as a film, it's just so well done, and, like, I don't really have any filmmaking critiques against it. There's a couple of weird cuts early on. Editing cuts that I noticed.
Well, there were some... directing choices that fell a little flat with me, but I mean overall
I don't have nothing that, like, took away from the experience really, and, like, I just it's a great movie, and, like, it's one of, like I love watching movies, but I don't rewatch movies all that often. I like to try and watch new things I haven't seen before. This is one of the movies that I've seen probably at least 4 or 5 times at least, and I definitely see myself watching it again. So, unless you have any other closing thoughts.
No, I mean, I am pro The Thing.
100% same. It is an amazing movie. If you have not seen it, well, you just got majorly spoiled.
Spoilers for The Thing.
I think I said it for this one. I think I did. I think I threw it in there for once.
Sure.
If you made it, like, we're 40 minutes into this section of the podcast. If you got this far and you're like, oh wait, I just got spoiled. Like, come on, bud.
Oh, dang it. Is that what happens?
Like, oh, wait. You're talking about The Thing? I thought this week was Gone with the Wind. It's a throwback.
I got that reference.
Yeah, that's a throwback to an early episode that none of our listeners have probably heard except Spencer.
I can't wait for our Gone with the Wind episode.
It's never gonna happen.
Oh, it'll happen.
Maybe 2021.
I am going to make you suffer with me, Philip.
We'll do a double feature. We'll do 2 media topics: System of a Down and Gone with the Wind. The perfect matchup.
Oh god, yeah, no, those two,
classic duo.
Those two fit so perfectly together.
Didn't System of a Down do the soundtrack for?
That
Gone
was
with
actually
the Wind?
the score for Gone with the Wind.
The toxicity of Atlanta. Toxicity is a song by System of a Down, so. Just saying, in case you didn't get that joke, okay? You know, just inform me. Yeah.
I assumed.
Jokes are funny when you explain them. Speaking of funny, maybe, what's your mystery topic, Seth? All right, Seth. What did you just show me?
So our mystery topic for this week is Gritty, the acclaimed mascot of the.
Oh man, I love Dark and Gritty. Oh, you mean the mascot?
The Philadelphia Flyers, the hockey team, and I just had Philip read a Vox article discussing just sort of the role that Gritty plays in our public perception, and that'll be included in the link. So, what are your thoughts on Gritty?
So, I mean, I have seen him floating around since his inception in, what, like 2018, 2017, somewhere around there?
Yeah, something about that.
And, like, I don't know much about hockey, I don't know much about sports, I don't know much about mascots, but I love Gritty.
Oh, yeah.
I love weird-ass shit like that, and, like, I just love that, like, you know, they could have done, like, a bear or something. They're like, no, it's just, he's a fucking Muppet on acid, like... Like, that's our mascot.
I have never watched a hockey game in its entirety in my entire life, but I mean, Gritty is not just a mascot of the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, he is a stand-in for the city of Philadelphia, and I mean, he is used as a stand-in and a representative of he is a very like notable part of our culture, even though he's only been around for a couple years.
Yeah, like it's amazing how quickly he came to fame, and I think that just stands to how unique he is, but he really blasted off. He flew up there.
And it started off as just like something that we all sort of made fun of and was like, what the hell is this? Okay, so this is weird, this is probably gonna last like a year. And then he ended up being, like, beloved.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, is, like, people are always... It's like The Thing, you know? Where at first people are like, what is this? They don't know how to react to it. They think it's bad. But then they realize it's unique and new and subversive. And changes the world. Gritty is The Thing. Or Kurt Russell. Maybe Kurt Russell is the one inside of Gritty.
Oh, dear Lord.
But like I love Gritty. Like I know a lot of the I'm in a bunch of different Discords with people, and like 80% of them have like Gritty emotes in the Discord chats, and like Gritty's just everyone loves Gritty.
He is just a pure ball of chaotic energy. I mean, if you ever need anything to stand in for just pure chaos, any image of Gritty, throw it in there, and everybody knows what's going on.
He's just such a wild card, man.
And I feel like he's also sort of changed our perception of Philadelphia too, because I mean, one of my favorite memes, Gritty memes, which is included in that article that I sent Philip, is, can somebody explain to me the concept of Gritty? Oh, I believe he's a manifestation of the city as a god, like Roma. And I'm like, I thought that was so fitting. But I never really thought of Philadelphia as that chaotic of a place, but Gritty really does feel like an apt representative. Just sort of this city that has more of a bad boy streak than New York, but also like nobody ever really goes to. Nobody has any idea what's really going on there.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, it seems fitting to me that a hockey mascot, hockey being a sport that people associate with fights and, just crazy shit, has become the representative for the city as a whole. And, because, I know, you're more into sports than I am, but overall, neither of us is, super duper into sports as a whole. But, I love, the concept of mascots and stuff is something I do like a lot. And, a good mascot can, really make or break your perception of a team.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Philadelphia was already so known for the Philly Fanatic, the mascot of the Philadelphia Phillies. I feel like the Fanatic is one of the most famous mascots in Major League sports. And the fact that Gritty came in and just completely overshadowed him.
Yeah. Because, it just... I think it really just is how bizarre he is that captivates people. Because, there was initially a what the actual fuck, who was on acid when they designed this, But, I think that's good. I think we need more unique shit. I don't want another fucking dog as a mascot. There's fucking 50 trillion of them.
I am curious as to just sort of what the data is of how many people saw these Gritty memes or got into Gritty and then maybe watched a Flyers game after that or started getting into hockey because of Gritty.
Honestly, there has to be at least some, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's probably not super widespread, but that is an effective mascot if you were able to go to communities completely outside of your own realm. And I mean, he had to have brought some people in, at least to watch, just to see Gritty.
Yeah, even just 20 minutes of a game, or a game, 100%. I mean, that's almost enough to make me want to watch a Flyers game, just to be it's Gritty.
Yeah.
And then, do something else. But,
do you remember that news story a few years back of, Gritty punching a kid?
Vaguely.
That almost sort of, adds into the mythos of Gritty, because I'm sure it was something so simple as the person in the suit might have just pushed the kid or something, but the fact that one of the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh yeah, Gritty, the mascot punched a kid once.
The spirit of Gritty took over that mascot, man. It knew it had to be done. That kid was an asshole.
Jeez.
Sometimes you just gotta let the spirit of Gritty take you over and punch a kid.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you punched a kid, Seth?
Oh, 2? 3?
3 kids that you punched, or since you punched someone? Years? Days? Months? Weeks?
Who's to say?
I punched 2
Hours?
kids 2 minutes ago.
Jeez.
right in the face. Right in the jaw.
Look, okay, I
Knocked
needed to
him
get
out,
myself
Gritty style.
hyped. I needed to get myself hyped up for the Gritty portion of the episode.
You had to, sacrifices need to be made for Gritty. Sometimes he's got to deck a kid in the jaw for Gritty.
I think it's interesting how quickly Gritty was co-opted as a political symbol too, because I feel like Gritty is probably the most recognizable symbol of like either like leftists or like sort of the farther left wing. Maybe not so far as to say far left, but just anything past center left is and I mean, like, you see Gritty in all these memes all the time, as sort of as a counterpoint to the way that, Pee-Pee the Frog was co-opted for the alt-right.
Pee-Pee or Pepe?
It's probably Pepe. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, Pee-Pee the Frog.
Pee-Pee the Frog. Look, okay, when I'm looking
you don't
at
want to meet
memes,
its brother.
all I need...
Mimi. Oh, no. I like to watch my memes of Pee-Pee and Tie.
I want to cry.
You always make me want to cry, Seth. You know what would be... This isn't related at all. But you know what would be fun?
What?
A Super Smash Bros. Type game mascots.
Ooh, I would absolutely be into that.
Like, I want to see Gritty deck the fuck out of Captain Crunch.
Yeah. Okay, I was thinking just...
No, I think go all across the board, man. All
mascots.
of them. Mrs. Butterworth comes in and wrecks shop.
Okay, I mean, I would play as UD every single time.
UD? Is that some Delaware shit?
The blue hen mascot
I didn't know he had a name.
University of Delaware.
I'd be a Captain Crunch main, I think. Gritty is a close second.
Yeah.
Every now and then for the memes, I'll play as the Trix Rabbit.
I'd probably do a few games as Big Al.
Oh, yeah. I can see that. I feel like he'd be a very slow character, like Donkey Kong.
Yeah. Or, I mean, just be like the Patriots' patriot. Just like an actual colonial soldier with a gun.
Oh, God. But yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun, actually. And then you can actually deck people in the face as Gritty in a game, so it's less harmful.
Okay, so whoever makes like 2K and Madden, take notes here, okay?
Yeah, get off of that stuff. Make the game we want. All right,
exactly.
Madden's overdone. It's time for the mascot melee.
Everybody can play fake football, okay?
But how often can you see Gritty just wail the fuck out of the Lucky Charms leprechaun? Gritty would be a top tier character. Gritty would be OP.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you have anything else you want to say on Gritty?
Probably just just sort of saying my other favorite meme of Gritty was after the recent presidential debate when Donald Trump said bad things happen in Philadelphia. Like, that night there was a meme of some Twitter account posing as Gritty that was like, I'm the bad thing that happens in Philadelphia. Keep my city's name out your mouth. And I died.
Dude, I could see Gritty being like a Batman-style vigilante. Just roaming the streets with a hockey stick and just wailing on evildoers.
He is the manifestation of the city as a god.
You get your crimes out of my town, I'm Gritty. That's what Gritty sounds like.
Yeah, no,
I'm
sure. Why
Gritty.
not? I actually... I've never heard him talk. Does he talk? I don't know.
Think so. I hope he either has like a Batman like "This is Philly" kind of voice, or
it's got to be gravelly.
See, I think it either has to be that, or it's subversive, and he actually just like, "Hi, I'm Gritty," and just beats the shit out of you while he's in a show voice.
That's more terrifying.
Like a Mickey Mouse,
Mickey Mouse voice.
What's up? I'm Gritty.
Oh boy,
get the fuck out of my town, motherfucker!
Beat up some fascists today. Also, that dumb Pittsburgh Penguin.
My nemesis! I'll fucking kill you. I'm Gritty.
Oh, I really, that's an interesting thing. Is the mascot of the Pittsburgh Penguins a fascist?
It might be.
Stay tuned.
Tune in next week to find out. Speaking of next week, I'm pro Gritty, by the way.
Oh, I am also very pro Gritty.
I love Gritty. He's such a wacky motherfucker. I love it.
Yeah.
Should we roll for next week?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I always say roll. It's just a button. All right. So our first topic for next week is Brendan Fraser.
Okay.
It's interesting. That's our first topic, but I think that's okay. I think that's okay.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll come up with something.
Yeah. Just like, be familiarized with general Brendan Fraser things. Let me go ahead and boot up that second media topic. Vamp for me, Seth. Do you remember what vamp means? I explained it a couple podcasts ago. It's when you, just kind of bullshit and eat up time to buy time.
Oh, like spitball.
Yeah, spitball. Vamp, spitball, talk shit, all that jazz.
Philip, this is stupid. Philip, you're dumb.
Well, that's not vamping. That's just rude.
You come up with all of these things that aren't real that you've made up.
I do. Well,
Philip, I swear I'm going to leave you.
Who are you? My parents.
I didn't realize this was the gas station.
I was left on the steps of an orphanage when I was 3. I was lost and alone until I became Gritty. That's Gritty's origin story.
Oh.
He was an orphan.
Philip was Gritty the whole time.
I am Gritty. Gritty.
How did he end up so orange?
A tragic Cheeto factory incident.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it happens. It's like
you know that Bosley stuff you use to grow back your hair on your head? He accidentally bathed in it, and it was just oof.
All right, so now that that's over, our media subject for next week is Leonard Skinner.
Okay.
That'll be interesting.
That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, and then it'll be my turn for the mystery subject. I already have it planned. Will I remember it? Who knows? Tune in next week to find out.
Stay tuned
for more of that jazz. So yeah, Brendan Fraser, Leonard Skinner, and mystery subject. So I think that'll be fun.
Yeah. That'll be the episode coming out right before Thanksgiving.
And then, we still gotta do Star Wars soon too. We promised the people Star Wars, Seth.
We did.
We gotta get it over with. Have you done any progress on Star Wars things?
Nope.
I have been watching The Mandalorian season 2.
I have not watched season 2 yet.
You should probably start on that. It's good. It's good. And then, we need to go ahead and get it over with. Rip off that Band-Aid, Seth.
Oh, but I like
being friends
with you, Philip.
It's it had to happen, It had to happen eventually. We just had to call it off, call quits as a Star Wars, as it goes.
That makes sense.
Star Wars ends most relationships in America, That's why divorce rates are so high.
That's true. That's just statistics.
You can see a direct correlation from when Star Wars was released to the amount of divorces in America. Coincidence?
May 25th, 1977.
Yeah, ever since then, the divorce rate, pew!
Yeah.
We're going to get divorced,
That
Seth, live on the podcast.
I can't wait. I've always wanted to divorce you. I'm going to wear my best red dress.
It'll be even better than when we got married. It'll be beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I'll dress up in one of those spinny pinwheel hats and a tie that says "Fuck you, Seth." It's custom made.
Because you know that I've always hated it when you wear those spinny pinwheel hats.
It's true. You always shame me for my hats. Well, god damn it. Once we're divorced, I can wear my spinny hat whenever I want.
And then society can just shame you.
Well, they do that anyways. Thanks for listening, guys. Tune in next week for Brendan Fraser, Leonard Skinner, Mystery Topic, and then soon after we'll do Star Wars and die.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye!